everyone. Welcome to Davenport Dunbar Resident Council meeting. Tonight is a very special night for us. We're going to be recognizing two departments from the town of Hamden that does so much for us. Can you please stand to salute the flag and then remain standing for a few moments of silence for our faithful department.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. I just want to start off by saying a couple of things about our police department in Hamden and our fire department in Hamden. 12 years of doing myself and former council person Ann Salone, we started what we call the Hamden Kids Toy Drive. We found out there was over 300 families in town that children would not have any clothes, any toys, a Christmas tree for Christmas. So we started what we called the Hamden Kids Toy Drive, and it was in the Hamden Plaza, and it ran for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Rain, sleet, snow, we were there. The first two departments that we went to were Hamden Police and Hamden Fire. And for 12 years, they supported that program. They were there for the 3 days with us, never left us alone, showing the squad cars to the kids that came in, showing the fire engines to the kids that came in. It was just great. Why I'm telling you this? Because there's a lot of stuff that they do that a lot of people don't see. And a lot of things that we don't appreciate that they do. 4 days after 9/11, 4 days after 9/11, I decided to put together a motorcade. Where did I go? Police department, fire department. It ended up being the largest motorcade in the state of Connecticut. We had more cops from all over the state of Connecticut, state police, more fire departments from all over the state of Connecticut. Matter of fact, we came right by this building. So these are things that they get involved in that was never noticed. The only time you recognize a policeman is if he pulls you over, and then he's no good. If the rescue truck isn't here or anywhere in a time that you think is feasible, then you want to know where they are. As far as the, Chief, you can tell me on yours, as far as the fire department goes, our calls average 3.5 minutes from the time it gets in to the time it's dispatched to the firehouse in the truck arrives. Right, correct? Yours is what, about the same?
Basically the same.
And the police department is the same. So, when you see any of these men or women in the street, it doesn't take much to say thank you for what you do for us every day. And we have to remember, they give up holidays, their children's baseball games, their daughter's ice skating, their birthdays. They give up so much, and so do their families. That alone, we should show more respect and appreciation. Okay, I'm going to have Dorothy come up because Dorothy wants to say a few words.
Yeah, when you guys pulled me over. I deal with both departments, the fire department and the police department, sometimes it seems like almost on a daily basis, particularly with the fire department. But, and not only do they impress me, both the fire department and the police department, with how well they do their jobs. I know we have the fire department that comes over, they do training in our stairwells, and I so appreciate that, because I know they know this building probably as well as I do. But what really, really impresses me, and I think it's the side that people don't see of the police department or the fire department, is the compassion with which they treat people and treat my residents. Because sometimes we get some, crazy calls, but people are taken seriously, they're treated with compassion. I think that my residents are treated almost like family members of these departments, and we so appreciate it, because being an elderly population, as you're getting older and you're losing your own power, you have to look to somebody powerful. And that's what you guys are. You're powerful guys. I appreciate you so, so much. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay, now Francis is going to come up and present the plaque to the Deputy Police Chief.
Hi, good evening. I just want to introduce a young man who I find out is very familiar with the police department in Hampton, because he's such a really, really, really nice guy. It's not because he's one that is remembered for trouble. I met Will at Wintergreen School. He graduated from Wintergreen with a 3.5 GPA average. He's now in Sound School, but he is a Hampton resident and a nice young man. And he would like to say something to the police department. His name is Will Sapp, and here is he.
Sorry, it's my phone. Good evening, my name is William Sapp, and today is a special day because on this day, we have all gathered here to show our appreciation for Hampton police and firefighters that serve us on the daily. These men and women have had a great impact in the lives of the youth of Hampton. I was asked to speak because I have a history of the police department. It's not the history you would expect from a young black male or a young black male to have. Attending middle school, I was able to participate in the Hampton Youth Services Bureau, and the officers spent countless hours volunteering their time to hang out with us. They even spent their weekends taking us to cool places we wouldn't have otherwise gone to. Everyone had their favorite police officer, and they were always involved in neighborhood activities. One of my most enjoyable moments was the bike race the officers participated in during one of our annual block parties. And the fact that they passed out bike safety information shows that they care. The fire department was nice enough as well to show up on the block parties and let the kids climb all over the truck and honk their horn. We always received an encouraging word and advice from the policemen, which show that they were always concerned about our well-being. We all know that policing and rescue can be a thankless job, but I'm not sure if the policemen have ever, and their families have ever received a thank you. But I'd like to say they are appreciated, and thank you for sharing your time away from your families with our community.
This plaque says that we're presenting this to the Hampton Police Department in recognition of outstanding service to Davenport, Dunbar residents, and the greater community on this day, October 6, 2016.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the residents of Dunbar, Davenport for hosting this event. Especially in law enforcement, it is not very often that we have the pleasure of being the recipients of awards. We usually see people at their worst and at their worst times and bad moments. It's very gratifying to see the people that we actually work for. So, make it short and sweet. I really appreciate this award. I'm accepting on behalf of all the men and women of the Hampden Police Department. This is a nice plaque. Good job.
Our town clerk now, Barry Morrison, is going to make a presentation to the police department.
Okay. You want me to stand? Good job.
Can you hear me without me using this crazy microphone? Okay, I've got a big enough voice that I think I don't need to do it. On behalf of the town of Hampden, we definitely want to thank our Hampden Police Force. I'll tell you a personal story of my son, who decided one day after school he wasn't going to come directly home from school, and it was 6 o'clock at night. And I remember calling the police department, reporting my son as missing. Well, he showed up, he had gone to a friend's house 2 blocks away, and said, "Oh, I forgot to call you." Well, in the meantime, a police officer showed up at my door. He asked me to come and sit on my front porch, and he said, "How's your relationship with your son? Has he ever run away before? Do you have any trouble in your house?" And at the time, we were a little offended, but you think about it, he was doing his job. And we thank him for that. And my son, of course, is now 38, and he has his own kids. So now he has to worry about them not coming home from school. So what goes around comes around. Yeah. But the Hampden Police Department has done a lot for our town. They're trained, they keep us safe. So we have to keep all our public servants, all our public safety officials in our prayers, because this is a very difficult time for our country and for our world. So I got an email from the police chief just as I was leaving today, and to show you the kind of training that the police department is doing, he sent out an email that the town of Hampden, along with 2 other towns, participated in a regional training program for the emotional survival and wellness of police officers. So know that your police officers are trained, and they're continually trained, and they're very compassionate, and they're concerned about all of us. So on behalf of the town of Hampden, I'm going to read a proclamation. The proclamations aren't exactly identical, but they're kind of similar. This is from the mayor of Hampden. It says, "Whereas the public safety officers are our guardians and work tirelessly to protect our citizens, enforce our laws, and keep our community safe. And today, October 6th, the residents of the Dunbar Davenport residents paid tribute to the Town of Hampden Police Department. With the awareness that we will never fully repay them for their service, we thank all police officers in the town who work devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of Hampden, despite any dangers they may face or sacrifices they might be called to make. Today we ask all citizens to reflect on the invaluable work of the Hampden Police Department as we enjoy peace and order in our community. And we wish them to know they will never be taken for granted, and that words are not enough to express our appreciation. Therefore, the Mayor of Hampden, Kurt Balzano-Lang, asks us to join the residents and the staff of Dunbar Davenport in recognition of the outstanding service provided by the men and women of the Hampden Police Department, who day and night stand guard for us all, making Hampden a safe place to call home. And I ask all the people of the town of Hampden to express their gratitude to the Hampden police officers every opportunity that they have. Thank you.
All right, now we'd like to give a presentation to the Hampton Fire Department. I tell you, the young lady that was going to be here, Miss Tiana McGee, who was a sophomore at Hampton High School and a cheerleader, is off doing some further studying and is unable to make it at this time. But she is so responsible that what she's done is asked her dad to come in and read her speech for her. So I'd like to ask Mr. McGee if he would come to read his daughter's speech.
All right.
Thank you. I'm not Tiana McGee. Tiana wanted to be here, but she attends, as was mentioned, Hampton High School, but she also attends the Education Center for the Arts in New Haven. And she has a conflict tonight. There was an audition that they dropped on her at the last minute, so you know, obviously she had a responsibility to be there. She asked that I come because she was prepared to speak to you tonight, so I'm going to read her speech. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to the Hampton Fire and Police Departments. I'm so proud to honor them during this critical time in our nation. I am fortunate to add my voice and perspective to our little town and the men and women who put us ahead of their own personal safety. Growing up in Hampton, mine and my family's experiences have been nothing but positive. We are fortunate that our fire and police are coaches, neighbors, and most important, our friends. Every day, they leave their families to do a job in the interest of community safety and to protect and save lives. Whether it's entering burning buildings or responding to disturbances, these adrenaline-filled scenarios are handled with care and professionalism by our public servants. Our fire and police wave from fire trucks at road stops and, of course, are valued participants in our parades. Not because they have to, but because they're connected to us. We are fortunate to have them.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. See, this is a brilliant young lady that wrote this, so now I'd have to ask Ms. Kendall if she would come and help me give the trophy to the fire department. We'd like to make this presentation. Kendall's not a big talker, except for in the house, with the rest of us. But when she's out in public, she's not a big talker, but we certainly like to make this presentation to the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
On behalf of Chief Baradeska, who could not be here this evening because he's vacationing, and the men and women of the Hampton Fire Department, I'd like to thank the Residents Council for this beautiful plaque, which will end up in the office tomorrow morning. I'd also like to recognize the fact that this is earned by the firefighters, fire officers, paramedics, and EMTs that dedicate their professional careers to delivering the best possible service to the residents of Hampton. And so thank you very much for recognizing their hard work.
You sure can. Back again to talk about the fire department. I'm actually the person that swears in these public safety officials when they get appointed. And I think there have been so many promotions within the fire department, it's almost a monthly thing that I meet them and swear at them. So that being said, I have also the greatest respect for the fire department. At one point, a retired firefighter told me, because my family had all these weird situations that would happen, that I should have my own EMT on staff in the town of Hampton. My husband conked his head on a radiator. Actually, Deputy Chief Merweed came to see me a couple of years ago when I fell in coals and knocked myself out. ended up getting a concussion. The fire department showed up. So we've had all kinds of bee stings, you name it, my family has seen it. Short of burning our house down, we've done just about everything else. So on behalf of the town of Hampden, I do want to recognize the fire department. Also, when I do school tours, I do second grade school tours, school in the community. I used to go both to the police department and the fire department. And the policeman would show them the old cell that doesn't exist anymore and bring the kids in there. And the canine officers would work with the kids and show them the police dogs. But the firemen in 90-degree heat, believe it or not, in the old town hall would put on the full suits from the headgear right down to the high boots. And they would also climb up the circular staircase that's no longer there, I don't think, right? There was a pole there, so they would climb up the circular staircase and then go down the pole and hope that they didn't break their legs when they got to the bottom. But they would bend over backwards to impress these kids, and I have always appreciated both departments for what you do for that. So, that being said, this is for the Hampden Fire Department. They are also our guardians and work tirelessly to protect our citizens, enforce our laws, keep our community safe. The firefighters in Hampden work with great dedication on behalf of the people of Hampden despite any dangers they may face or sacrifices they're called to make. And so we ask the citizens to reflect on the service provided by our firefighters who respond to calls for help, often placing themselves in harm's way for the safety of others. And so the mayor then declares that we should express our gratitude to the Hampden firefighters at every opportunity. But I also want to bring you back, and there may be some residents that remember the fire at Dunbar Davenport. And I don't know how long ago it was. I just know it was a long time ago. And I remember 2 or 3 of the residents, when I would come and talk about elections, remembered the fire department carrying them out of the building when they had that fire. So if you're a resident that was there for that fire, let me know how long ago it was, because I can't remember. And we know that we certainly appreciate what they did and everything that has happened since 9/11. Both the police department and the fire departments were affected by what happened in New York. And it's affected our whole way of life and the way we approach safety and security ever since that's happened. So I thank the fire department, I thank the police department, and let's hope for a much more peaceful world. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to do this for us tonight, to recognize both departments. I am chairman of the Hampden Fire Commission. And we have one of our, so Brian, want to stand up? He's one of our commissioners. The police department commissioners also, well, they didn't show up tonight, but they were supposed to come. I didn't know what happened. We have such a hard time when we have to do promotions. The chief said to me 2 weeks ago, he said, Henry, most of the firemen that are on board now and been promoted, you've done it because you've been here for 12 years. We get to know each one of these people personally. And when they come before you for a promotion, and you got one promotion, and you got 3 people, it's very, very difficult in the town of Hampden. Because any one of those 3 people and any other department in the state of Connecticut will get that promotion. We sit there for hours debating the same thing. We have fire personnel from other towns, and I believe you got it from in the police department, that want to come to Hampton. Now, I can speak on Hampton Fire Department. Every time we ask them why they want to be a firefighter in Hampton, because of your reputation, because of the good work you do, and because of the town itself. Nothing has ever been said about money, how much am I going to make. All they want to do is work here. And that says a lot for our department. And it says a lot because I know Mr. Yetzi, who's chairman of the police department. I know talking to him, they're the same way. We have two sergeants in front of us right here, sitting right here. I know both of them. I think they stopped me a couple times, I'm not sure. But they're gentlemen on the street. They are gentlemen on the street. So we are very, very fortunate in the town of Hampton. You guys are here almost every day. I might have to give you a room. So I'm going to ask everyone, if you see them coming here, or you see them in a store or on the street, it doesn't take much to say, thank you for what you do for us. And let me tell you, it is very well appreciated. Thank you.
Along with thanking the Hampton Fire and Police Department, I'd like to thank our two young people for participating. I asked them to participate with us seasoned folks so that they could get a view of how things go, how things run. So thank you both for being here and for making the presentation.
Now, let me say it this way. There's no questions, right? I have a report from the treasurer. At every monthly meeting, there's one thing we have to definitely do for your interest is give you a treasurer report. Next month, as you all know, is our third annual Veterans Day celebration. And we have a few new things that are happening in that day. And again, I want to thank the Hampton Police and the Hampton Fire, because again, they're coming through with the color guard and the pipers. And this is the third straight year they haven't said no. The new thing that we're adding to it this year is that Hampton High School and Hampton Middle School, both choirs are coming here and do a medley of military songs, plus whatever. It's going to be an interesting day. So I hope you all put it aside. It's November 4th. And we're asking everybody to arrive at 9:30 so we can get the program underway the way we're supposed to get.
Can I say something?
Yes. Vera Morrison wants to say one more thing. Oh, I know what she's going to say. Our biggest supporter of veterans.
No, I actually come to the Veterans Day ceremony. But what I'm here to talk to you about is the election, which is 4 days after the Veterans Day ceremony. The election is November 8th. I have sent absentee ballot applications to both Beatrice and Cheryl in both buildings. So if you're unable to get to the polls, please call my office, or they may have forms still in the office for you to fill out. It's important that you vote. I've had a glut of overseas voters like I've never seen in 21 years that I've been here. We have had ballots from, we started emailing ballots about 10 days ago to the overseas voters, and I'm getting ballots from Australia, Thailand, England, China. You cannot believe the number of voters that are voting by absentee overseas. There are also a lot of U.S. citizens that are overseas, and they are voting in record numbers. We're showing about 50 registrations a day for new voters. So today we had to order another 3,500 poll ballots for the polling places. This is going to be an unprecedented election.
I have a question.
Yes.
My daughter lives in North Carolina and she votes absentee.
Okay.
And I wanted, you said something about emailing.
Well, we can't email the ballot if you're in the United States.
Okay.
She can email me her application. We would have to mail it to North Carolina.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the first day the ballots are supposed to be issued, and because of the lawsuit of the independent party, it held up the printing of all the ballots across Connecticut by 2 weeks. So I was lucky enough to get my ballots today. Unfortunately, half of the ballots have 2 wrong candidates for the independent party and for the Green Party, so I'll have to have my printer reprint those ballots. But if you have sent me in an application and you're not one of the 6 districts that were wrong, I can mail them out to you tomorrow. All the ballots have to be back by Election Day, by Tuesday, November 8th, by 8 o'clock in order to be counted. My brother called me from England, and he said people are coming up to him, the Brits, the Americans, the internationals, and saying to him, I don't know what you're doing in the United States, but all the millions of people you've got there, and this is what you come up with? So we're getting a really interesting reaction from Europe, from Italy, from all these different countries. They are very concerned about the outcome of our election. So make sure you're a very dedicated group of voters. So make sure you vote, and if you can't get to the polls, let our office know, and we will make sure you get an absentee ballot. Okay? All right. Thank you. And I appreciate the veterans too.